Okay, I've been talking about the idea of what I call a touchstone lately. By the way, I'm in bed because I've been knocked down. I see my wife's knocked down too. She's downstairs. She's sleeping in the chair. We're knocked out. The bully just pummels us down, and we're back in bed. And what did we do today? We walked in a mall for exercise. That's it. We're under a kind of house arrest in a great big hospital, great big mental prison, let's call it, where our privileges are. We can walk in a mall for exercise and then get in bed and lay down. The Chinese call lay flat. You can lay flat and take walks. You can do that in the actual mental prisons too. Well, actually, you cannot lay flat. That's not allowed in the mental prisons. Once you get out of your bed in the morning, you're not allowed to go back to that bed. You can walk all day up and down the halls of the mental prison, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, all day long. You cannot get back in bed and lay down. You cannot lay down anywhere. However, I didn't intend to get into this, but I discovered when I was imprisoned in the state prison for the state of Maryland, the state mental prison for the state of Maryland, that when I walked into the bathroom, what did I see? Half a dozen dudes laying on the floor in there, under the doors of the stalls on the floor of the bathroom. How were they doing that? Well, that's the only place you could lay down, apparently. I never thought about it till now. I guess I figured the medicines they were given were making them feel that they needed to lay down. The only place you were allowed to lay down was in there. So you'd go into the bathroom and you'd be stepping over half a dozen dudes laying on the floor in there. Okay, so you're not allowed to lay flat in the mental prisons themselves. Just want to establish that in case any of you were wondering. Now, so it's a privilege. When you get free of the actual mental prison, and you're in the great big mental prison in the United States, you can go lay flat in your bed, just like in China. You don't like things in China and you don't want to get arrested? Lay flat. It's the safest place to be, in bed laying down. Okay, now, what the hell was I going to talk about? I went off on that tangent, I forgot. I was going to review an idea. And now I can't remember what the idea was. Let me put this on pause. Touchstones. I was talking about how an idea in literary criticism called The Touchstone by a famous English literary critic named Matthew Arnold. Okay. I didn't like that idea for literary criticism, but it seems like a good one for psychology. So I want to examine the idea of the touchstone, that is, the associative feel, what I call like a sixth sense feeling for the identity of the person I've been calling Bashuasi, because I do have a sixth sense this way, and my sixth sense identifies this person. Now, quickly, okay, they say, authorities, I guess, on this matter, that, for example, a little baby, okay, will know if you take a piece of the mother's clothing and put it beside that baby. Let's say the baby's feeling anxious or is crying more than it should. When you leave it alone, you put it in the crib and it starts to cry. Well, I've read that one of the ways you can make that baby feel better is take some of the mother's clothing, which has the mother's smell on it. They're assuming that they're right about this, right? Because they can't ask the baby why it's pleasing to the baby. They're going to say, it must be the smell of this clothing, but maybe that's not it. How do they know, right? They've asked these babies. They say it's the smell of the clothing, but they don't know, I'm saying. So something of the mother's they put by the baby. Okay, something cuddly and warm and nice. It just smells like the mother, presumably, and the baby's suddenly feeling okay. It's not anxious and stops crying. Well, just because I have this thought now and it seems reasonable, uh, who knows what it is about that piece of clothing or that's put by the baby that makes the baby feel better. Maybe it's not exactly the smell. The smell might be part of it, but maybe it's what I'm saying. It's a touchstone. It's a sixth sense in that baby of the mother's presence. The smell might be part of it, and other aspects to that item you put next to that baby, which identify the mother as the source of whatever you're putting by that baby. And the baby feels better. Now, I'm saying that's a kind of example of a touchstone, okay? It's an associative thing you have that I'm calling a sixth sense awareness, okay? So, you often see the sixth sense in people normally call it handicap. Now, I am a lifetime member of the Gallaudet University Alumni Association, and Gallaudet University, when I was going there, talked about itself how when I was there, it called itself the only liberal arts university in the world for deaf people. That's what it said at that time. Maybe there's another university somewhere that's been built in another part of the world. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. But for the 1993-1994 academic year, that was how Gallaudet described itself. The only liberal arts university in the world for deaf people. And when I was at Gallaudet, I took a class called Sociology of Deafness. And there were, let's say, let me try to think. There were like 10 to 15 people in that class. Okay. And one day the teacher says, she asked the class, how many of you consider yourself handicapped? Okay. Now let's say there's 10 to 15 deaf students in that. They're all deaf, except for me. I was there by special permission as a hearing student permitted to be a full-time undergraduate for one academic year. That was all hearing students were permitted at the time I went to Gallaudet. Gallaudet did not want hearing students graduating from Gallaudet University. It was supposed to be for deaf people. Okay, but you could go there for one academic year, and I was there. Now, teacher asked the class that question, and what do you think, folks out there listening to this video, the answer was? Because I can tell you as a hearing person that I grew up thinking of deaf people as handicapped. Now we're going to ask the deaf people themselves. As you cannot ask little infants, why is it that you stop crying and you feel better when we put this little piece of your mother's clothing by you? And the baby said, well, it's not the smell. You're not going to get an answer from that baby, right? So here we're going to get the answer from the people hearing folks call handicapped when they're deaf. What do you think the answer of the 15 students, I'll say 15, let's say 13. There's 13 students in the class. What do you think the answer was? Okay. Only one hand went up to say that he felt he was handicapped. Everybody else said, we are not handicapped. Okay. Why am I making that point? I'm kind of back up what I've been saying about babies and about the sixth sense. So, and also I'm trying to talk about deaf people and blind people and people like that who I was raised to think or believe had what was called a compensatory sense or senses that the handicapped, if you'll permit me to use that word, folks develop in place of the sense that they lack. Like they lack hearing, so they have a compensatory sense to make up for that, to compensate for that missing sense. They may have more than one compensatory sense to make up for that, okay? So I'm now forgetting what I was talking about because I'm not going to say, let's just say fear of the audience that might be listening to me right now. I don't know who's listening to this video. When I look at my phone, it says 0 views. That's frightening. To me, that's frightening because I don't think it should be that way, and I don't know why it is that way. So I'm frightened of the world out there that doesn't want to hear a thing I have to say. Even when I put the videos online for the entire world to listen to, there's not a single person of the 8 billion out there who potentially have access to the internet doesn't want to hear a word out of my mouth. Whoa, yeah. You wouldn't be scared of a world like that you were in? Now, let me put this on pause again. Touchstones. I'm saying there are emotional touchstones, let's call them. Okay, we're not going to call them Sixth Sense touchstones. Let's call them emotional touchstones, where you can perceive a presence emotionally. It's almost a thing, that you can see with your eyes like an object, or hear with your ears, right? Or feel with your hands. This emotional perception that you have is that real. So way back when my wife and I started to be followed everywhere and have all our bills messed up and have people walking dogs around us, that it was in a very peculiar, odd way, and our dog was poisoned and killed. Okay, things like this were happening to us when it started out. One of the things that was happening was when I was using like a phone or a tablet to do things, I'd be struggling and I'd get this message, and the message would be allow. I'm supposed to tap on allow. Okay. And I felt that was the beginning of harassment on our devices, which is, I mean, it's my wife and I are both in 100% agreement that our devices were all hacked by the bad guy, and the bad guy's harassing us all day on our devices. So, this message allow, okay, was like, I got an emotional touchstone on that. That this was like a woman, okay, trying to deceive and confuse and get me to accept hacking into my device as if it was allowable. The touchstone was, yeah, I know, the little sign there, allow, people are going to say, look, that's allowed because this, that, and the other. No, I'm saying the emotional touchstone in the midst of all that harassment this was another form of harassment where that shouldn't even have come up on the screen, right? In other words, you're going to say, that's because of this, that is, but if you examine these struggles we're having on our devices, you'll find that there's too many of them, and they're too unreasonable after a while to be explainable this way. That's because of this. No, that's because there's a harasser in there. That's the reason. And the harasser is using what you might call unprovable harassments to harass this way. You're going to be saying allow because the suggestion is it's allowable that you're going to be harassed this way. Okay? So, going way back to like 2019, I got an emotional touchstone beginning with the message allow. So I kept running into it over and over. Don't see it anymore. But there's other what the harasser was trying to do with allow, couldn't do because I wasn't going to accept it. I found ways around that. Now, so does my wife. She does this all day long too. We fight this every step of the way. Now, I'm saying there's an emotional touchstone with allow, and that emotional touchstone is still there and is continued in harassments that are different now. So at that time, we had allow as the piece of clothing, let's say, put in my crib by me, the sleeping baby. Okay. And later, we have something else. Let's say we have accept occasionally now, accept. And just the same emotional touchstone. See what I'm saying? Now, I didn't discover that the person I'm calling Beshuasi was alive on the earth at the same time I am until 2022. And I want to say, the emotional touchstones that I have that identify her are not the same as the touchstones of the harassers in my phone up to the present day. And the harassers up to the present day are still consistently identifiable by my touchstones, going all the way back to 2019 with allow. Okay? So I don't get confused in my phone into thinking that, oh, it's Beshuasi. It is not Beshuasi. My touchstones tell me it's the same villainous liar I ID'd back in 2019. It was saying, allow. No, I'm not going to allow, except in the rest of it. You are not to be in my phone. And for that reason, I'm saying Beshuasi is not there. She's not in my phone trying to deceive me. She's not there at all. And I got to say, the touchstones that I have for Beshuasi are part of why I'm saying that. Because the evil I've perceived, it's not in her at all. And there's lots more to that, to all the associations I have with her. She's Japanese. And what do I associate with the Japanese? Japanese do not break the law. And it's illegal to hack a person's phone. So she would be hacking my phone? I don't see how. I don't see how. Now, I'm going to be proved wrong on this. Well, I don't see how. So I just wanted to talk about touchstones a little and how they've helped me successfully navigate my way through a very hostile reality that called me just about as crazy as you can get when I was 28 years old. I'm now in my 70s. And I've done a lot of successful things in life in a very hostile world. Seeing me as crazy, I've still done things. And the way I've done it, or one of the things I've done to be successful as I am, is to pay attention to these touchstones, to navigate my way around the villainous evils out there, the villains, the bullies, the predators, the evildoers out there that would prey on a virtually helpless person like me. And let's face it, as I said about myself many times, and I would say this about anybody declared to be crazy like me, when we're out there in your world that you put us in, we are dependent on the kindness of strangers, because anybody finds out that we are the crazies we're supposed to be, we're in danger. We're not going to get a thing done, a thing listened to out of our mouths. We're going to be in deep trouble. So these touchstones, they've helped me. And so I'm talking about them now. Why? Because I'm going to say, I've been trying with all my might to get to this person I've been calling Bishuasi. I've been trying with all my might. And while trying, I've been being deceived right and left by a hostile world that wants to say, hey, I'm Bishuasi over here. There's no such thing as a predator. Like what? I went to Japan first time, and I get there, I don't know the language, I don't know how to read it, I don't know a word of how to speak it, I know virtually nothing about Japan, except they were enemies of the United States during World War II. They've been thoroughly demonized for American culture, and I know nothing about Tokyo where I arrived, zero. I don't have a map, I don't have even a guidebook. You say, well, you're crazy, right? Well, I'm not going to get into that. I don't have a guidebook and I don't have internet on my phone because I gave the SIM card to my wife. We were sharing a phone, but the harassments on our phones were so bad. I gave up my phone and said, I'll just use my wife's. I'll say, can I use your phone for this or that? We were sharing a phone. I had a phone, but I didn't have any SIM card in it. And the phone I'm making this recording on, let me see. I'm not sure which phone it is because I got several. No, there's no SIM card in this phone. So I went to Japan, and at that time we only had one SIM card. Basically it was in my wife's phone all the time, but I had a phone like here to make photographs and videos and this kind of thing, and use Wi-Fi wherever it's publicly available. And that's what I was doing with my phone. But when I went without my wife to Japan to look for Bishuasi, I arrived there. And what happens? I navigate my way to their metro, buy one of their metro pass cards, which I'm grateful that I got, and I'm navigating my way to this place. I had to make a reservation to stay. At that time, you had to have a reservation beforehand to be admitted into the country. So I made a reservation for this place, $35 a night, in what looked like a coffin. It's called the, I'm trying to think what those things are called. It's like a berth on a ship is what you get. I'm not complaining. It was fun. I liked it. And good price, good location as well. And I would go back there. One of the problems is it's men on one floor and women on another. So if I can't get my wife a place with me in the hotel, this is a problem. Okay, anyway, so hold on. I got to catch back up. Let me take a quick break. I get myself to the metro stop where using Wi-Fi way back at the airport, Haneda Airport, I learned that this place I've made this reservation is like a block from this one particular metro station. Okay, and I navigate my way, not knowing the language, not knowing anything, at night, and I arrive at this station at around midnight. Wait a minute. Yeah, I think around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Then it took me 2 hours to find this place. And what's the first thing that happened, even in this country, where there's almost no crime at all? Well, I'm trying to look at this sign outside the metro on the street. It's kind of like a map. And I'm thinking, God, how am I going to find this? I'm trying to see, I'm looking at the characters of the Japanese language. I'm trying to think now, I got this address. Can I find this street on this map? And I'm looking at this map. It's like 10 o'clock at night. It's dark and there's nobody on the street around me. And this man comes up. He's a Japanese man. And he can't speak English, but he's indicating that he wants to help me find whatever it is, okay? So I'm telling him I'm looking for this hotel, okay? So he looks on his phone, And then he says he's going to show me where the hotel is. So what do? We walk down from this lighted area outside the metro, like into an alley in the dark there. And we stop at this. He stops, and it's like we're in an alley, in a dark alley, and he stops. And I said, I'm looking around. I said, I don't see the hotel. I said, is this the hotel? Here, I'm motion clearly. I'm looking for the hotel. He says, and he's saying, this is it. This is it? Okay. You supply the rest of that. This is a predator, even in this country where there's no crime. So what did I do? This is it. I walked away from that guy back to the station. What's the point? I think I was trying to say that I associate Bishuasi with certain touchstones, right? And these touchstones have helped me navigate my way through reality. And there's an example of how I did navigate successfully a trip to her country, looking for her under all of that, with all that going against me. And I was successful in that trip as far as that went. I went there, I stayed about a week, and then I left. There's an example of one of the first Japanese I run into is a predator. So these touchstones, they've helped me, and I'm saying that all I've said. That's all from me for now. Bye for now. Okay, that's what my wife thinks of you for harassing us. That's what she thinks. A nearly helpless person you're harassing. Okay, we're making this all up. We're not telling the truth. We've been under this for a decade. We're making it all up, right?